Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 76 of 2020. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the Odds Breakers and follow us on social media / the Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by jazzsports.ag for a 100% sign up bonus. Please visit Jazz Sports and use the promo code OddsBreakers. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to help us out with our costs, sponsor the website and the podcast, we'd love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member. For $24.99 a month, you can get my plays and premium plays before the line moves. If nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. My friends, we had a wonderful weekend of sports once again. Lots of craziness happened. College football, we'll quick go over that. Go over a little NFL before we get into our misleading scores and motivational spots. And, of course, our free pick and fantasy football playoffs with our guy, D Nasty. Before we get to that, a couple of bets are coming into fruition for some people that was made before the season. Some college football season win totals. Unfortunately, some of these college football win totals, if you are right on the side, you could very, very well get screwed if they don't play their schedule. For example, we had Georgia Tech over their win total of 2.5. I believe that paid plus money, and being that they had a game canceled, that bet was canceled. However, on the other hand, we had Boston College under 4 wins at plus 110 and lost that one because they played a full schedule. So that was some of the added variance that we had to face due to COVID. Now, this could also work in your favor. Say you had Georgia Tech under 2.5 and Boston College over. That's a great weekend for you for your preseason bets, right? So interesting stuff there. Another one that we had canceled, Wake Forest under 5.5. They have 4 wins, and they were definitely a better team than I thought. But this loss to Louisville would have most likely put them under 5.5. They're at 4 wins right now. They'll probably get to 5 against Florida State, but the game that was canceled was against Miami, and I believe the Notre Dame one was canceled, and there's no way they were winning those two. So that one kind of went against us as well. I mean, on the good side of things, we still have Los Angeles Chargers under 7.5. Looks like the NFL is going to play a full season. That thing cashed a long time ago. The Eagles not to make the playoffs. That's still in play, but we have plus 150 to the no, so that's looking good. New England to not make the playoffs, plus 145 no. That one's looking pretty good here too. The Washington football team under 5.5 wins, not looking good, but it was a little bit smaller of a bet. The Cleveland Browns to make the playoffs, that's a winner. The Auburn as the SEC champion, that's a loser. Iowa State at 12-1 to win the Big 12 Conference Championship. We're going to be talking to Chris Felica about that on Wednesday on the podcast. Real excited for that one. 12-1 is what we have. We have the Georgia under 8.5 regular season wins at minus 105. That's definitely a live play right there because they can't get to 10 wins because they have 2 losses. That was one of our largest plays of the season. The Patriots under 9 wins is looking good as well. The Philadelphia Eagles under 9.5 wins might have already hit. I have to check that. The Atlanta Falcons under 7.5 wins hit plus 100. We're going to hit that for sure. Probably already did. The Detroit Lions over 6.5. That's going to be a loser. The Buffalo Bills to win the division, large bet plus 175. Well, decent sized bet for compared to this. That's going to hit. They're going to win their division at plus 175. That was a great one that we made. And I think that's it. It's looking really good for us from a future standpoint. I think we also had Cal to win the Pac-12, so sorry about that one. That one's going to be a loser. But our future bets in general looks like are going to pay off really well. Looks like they're doing fantastic in the NFL.
Come on, don't bullshit me.
Well, speaking of the NFL, why don't we start with an NFL recap for you? We made some late plays. One was the 49ers -3. The other ones were the Philadelphia Eagles plus 7.5 and sprinkle the money line, and Denver Broncos plus 4.5, sprinkle the money line. Well, Philadelphia and Denver won outright, so that certainly helped our case for the NFL, going 7-3 on Monday or on Sunday in the NFL. So that certainly was awesome. We hit 2 of our college basketball plays. Been on fire lately in college basketball. Yesterday, we had the Georgetown versus St. John's over and Georgetown -1. Thank goodness Georgetown did win that game. It was a nail biter, but I just expected them to be better than St. John's at home. St. John's forced it to overtime with a bucket at the last second inbounds pass. It was crazy exciting when that happened, but was really happy. Been really happy with college basketball. It started out bad at 2-5, and it really turned around. We're in the black for sure for college basketball. College football wasn't as good. I mean, our free plays were good. 3-1 on our free plays, including the Northwestern under that we gave on this show last week, the Monday/Tuesday show. But it was only 6-7 and lost some of our bigger bets. So we were down in college football, up in the NFL, and the basketball kind of put us into the black. So was really happy about that. Getting back to a little college football recap. Obviously, my Badgers sucked it up once again against Iowa. Both of their top receivers were out again. I'm wondering if these guys even play football because they were out a ton last year. And their best little running back, a freshman, supposed to be kind of the next Jonathan Taylor. His name's Jalen Berger. He was out this game. And Graham Mertz did not look good. He's missing his passes. Some of them are going high. The ones that he hits the guy, it goes right off their hands. I can't explain how bad that is when the passes you miss and the passes you make, really well don't come into fruition that they can catch the ball and get a first down. But anyways, it was just great defense by Iowa. Iowa's defense was just as good as Wisconsin's, at least. And it won the game. And then the Badgers defense, as usual, just gets really tired. They're on the field the whole time. Wisconsin can't establish the run, and they got their butts beat. Wisconsin's offensive line does not look as good as it should be. We have all the same guys as last year, so explain that one to me. But either way, our receivers can't get open, and it's just been a pretty shitty season. Now they're going to have a Minnesota team that wants their axe back. That's going to be a really interesting game. Wisconsin's looking like they're still a pretty big opening favorite for this. I posted Wisconsin's 3 biggest needs. At this point, we're just looking at this year as a preseason. There are 3 biggest needs at Wisconsin is number 1, an offensive coordinator. I posted this on a Badger site, by the way, on Facebook. An offensive coordinator is number 1. Joe Rudolph is an offensive line coach. I have no idea why Paul Chryst put him as offensive coordinator. He's so loyal. He wants to treat his guys, give them pretty much seniority, when they grow through the system with them, even though they're the wrong person. I mean, Wisconsin went backwards under Joe Rudolph. I saw a funny post that someone was asking, is Matt Nagy calling the plays for the Badgers? Matt Nagy of the Bears. It looked that bad. And I think they need like a Joe Brady type person. They need to find someone, maybe the quarterback's coach from Alabama, whoever the hell that is. Maybe get someone from Ohio State into offensive coordinator, pay them a little bit of money. Get someone there that can be creative, because right now you're just getting your ass kicked up and down the field, and your plays are just so easily read by the other team. They don't even have to respect the pass. They just stack they're back to stacking the box. Their defensive backs are good enough one-on-one against their slow receivers. So you need someone more creative there. That's the number one thing. The number two thing is you need receivers, and they have some younger guys that'll be better next year, but Pryor and Davis are just average. They need some grad transfers in and some transfers. Now with Mertz, who has a cannon of an arm, buddies with Patrick Mahomes, hopefully that helps bring some receivers to Wisconsin. That's their number two need. And their number three need is a pass rusher. They haven't had a great pass rusher since TJ Watt. I guess Zach Bond was pretty good last year, but he was just cutting through bad Big Ten teams. We need a good pass rusher to keep the pressure off the defense. Getting out of third down, it's huge. They're completing too many third downs against us. So a pass rusher is the number three thing that Wisconsin needs. I don't know if there's a guy that's pretty young. Chanel's a good linebacker, but he's more of a Mike linebacker. We need a better pass rusher, and we've had a few guys that were injured too. So that's what it needs for the Badgers. Looks like Arizona State destroyed Arizona. Right? They absolutely destroyed them, 70-7. It was 42-7 in the first half, and I was watching this game. I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" What sucks is I wanted to be high on Arizona next year from a future standpoint, but I think this game might have blew it for that possibility. Now they do have one more game against Oregon State. I can only hope that Arizona shows up bad and give us some value for next year's Pac-12 South or Pac-12 even championship odds. San Jose State beat Nevada. We were on San Jose State on Friday, so that was a positive for sure. San Jose State covered the 2.5, and it actually went down to 1.5 too. I had a bad number on that, but I was convinced that San Jose State was going to win this game just because they are better efficiently on defense. There was one key play that was a fumble by Nevada when Nevada was up 20-7 that San Jose State got, and they capitalized and scored that possession. It was a 14-point swing that helped us on that one. San Jose State needed that one very bad. And to be honest with you, I'm not even sure if it was a fumble. I looked at the replay. The problem is the replay didn't show the ball coming out, and you could tell the guy's knee was probably down when he had the ball. I mean, just one of those things. But either way, congrats to them. Alabama versus Arkansas. I mean, seriously, 49-point victory. Alabama just can't be stopped. They don't even look ahead to anybody. They are certainly the best team in the nation as far as I'm concerned. I'm not even sure how close it is. I do have Ohio State and Clemson closer, but God, I don't even think it's 3 points. I think Alabama is better by more than 3 points by both teams. LSU, this was the biggest one. Obviously, they beat Florida. There was some shoe controversy where one of Florida's players threw a shoe at LSU and got a penalty that kept LSU's final drive alive to kick the field goal to win. How brutal is that? 3-0 turnover ratio certainly hurt that one as well. But Florida's chances now of winning the championship just went to hell because they lost this game. They are out of the playoffs now. They are out. It's Alabama. It's Clemson. It's Notre Dame. I don't think that Notre Dame Clemson game. I don't think that could take Notre Dame out even if they get beat really bad, right? I think Notre Dame's in no matter what. I mean, you'd have to have Cincinnati like literally blow out Tulsa, right? And then a couple other things. USC would have to lose. USC still in this thing. They're undefeated going into the Pac-12 championship game, right? So that's interesting. And North Carolina versus Miami. North Carolina is 62-26. We bet the over 66.5. That thing closed at 72. So hopefully you got that one. That was one of our free plays. Miami just couldn't keep up with them. North Carolina's got an offense similar to like in Alabama. I mean, they're not as good as Alabama. They're not. They're just had an easier schedule, but they played Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is a much better defense, but their offense, I would give them the edge over Notre Dame. I would give Clemson the edge over them on offense, but not by a lot. But I think that they're the fourth, probably behind Ohio State, the fourth or fifth best offense in the nation. All right. It's too bad that they don't have a defense over there for good old Mac Brown. All right, Troy versus Coastal Carolina. Troy put a scare into Coastal Carolina, and they had the ball on that last drive and just faltered out, ran out of time. They only lost 42-38, and we were on Troy that game, and that would have been a really, really nice money line sprinkle on Troy being 14-point dogs against Coastal Carolina. We had plus 14 too, but man, that would have been nice. And it was just such a bad sandwich spot as we talked about before on our betting spots. And if you remember, I said that the LSU game was a look-ahead spot for Florida. Imagine being on that money line for LSU. If you were on the money line for LSU and you listen to this podcast, please tweet at the Odds Breakers. I would love to hear from you. That's why you bet these spots. I mean, it's so important when it comes to sports betting. Illinois got their coach Lovie Smith fired. I always said as a Bear fan, Lovie Smith was more of a fraud. I'm sure he's a nice guy and everything, and he is. He's a real nice guy, but as far as X's and O's, he's not that good at that. It was Urlacher and Mike Brown calling those defenses back in the 2000s for the Bears. So, and Lovie's a player's coach. I'm sure that everyone likes him, and everyone, some of those Bears players would disagree with me, but he didn't bring a lot to the table but organizational skills. And sometimes that works great if you have a great offensive coordinator and offensive mind. And that's why Andy Reid's always successful. He has the offensive mind. He switches coordinators and he's still great. Difference. Ed Orgeron lost Joe Brady. Not looking so good right now. I mean, we'll see what happens in the future, but Ed Orgeron didn't look that good all before, did he? Right? I mean, sometimes the marriage has to be a great organizer of people, and it has to have great support group, great assistant coaches. USC barely beat UCLA. UCLA kind of faltered out in the fourth quarter. It was a 5-point victory. They did cover the spread. I know a lot of people on UCLA, Chris Felica, a couple of other my colleagues, and it was just a tough one. We made our money off UCLA the last couple of weeks, and I'm glad I laid off that one. I would have been tempted, but sometimes you just got to lay off when the value isn't there anymore. 3 weeks ago, USC probably would have been, a 7 to 8 point favorite instead of a 3.5 point favorite. I think that's where it closed. And then BYU took care of business against San Diego State. Oklahoma State destroyed Baylor. I thought Oklahoma State might be the team that falters out because of missing the Big 12 championship. But no, it's actually Baylor that falters out. So found that interesting. And, I mean, that's all really the main games here. Had some close losses like Toledo Central Michigan, just missed that over. Army-Navy was the good old triple option game. It's funny. It's a great game when there's no other games on. But when it's mounted with a ton of games around it, it's just two triple option teams playing each other. And don't get me wrong, I love our servicemen, and I always will. But and I love the style of football in a nutshell. But when it comes to, comparing it to all these other games, I kind of ignored it. I admit I was watching a lot of other games and wasn't focused on the Army-Navy game nearly as much as I would be, of course, if it was, on an island. Florida State destroyed Duke. Boise beats Wyoming in a snowy game. That was cool watching the snow fall down that game. I really enjoyed that. Georgia Southern, we gave that out as our most likely dog to win outright. Well, I took the spread, of course, on that with Kyle Hunter on our show, Better Odds Sports Betting, and Georgia Southern covered by 1 point, so was really happy about that. They could have lost that cover, but App State kicked a field goal at the end, so that was an interesting one. Virginia versus Virginia Tech. I don't know what the hell happened to Virginia. That thing was going over, and we bet that over until the second half, where Virginia Tech only scored 6 points and Virginia scored 8 points the whole second half. It was just blew my mind how they kind of both Virginia Tech was just running the ball. They had a good lead, but Virginia should have done a heck of a lot more than that. And then finally, our Oregon State plus 3.5. Hope you got that when we gave that out, covered against Stanford. So was really happy about that one. Moving into the NFL, as I already touched on, the Eagles took care of business with Jalen Hurts. It looks like Carson Wentz is making all the money but lost his job. I mean, imagine being the starting quarterback, watching you beat the old guy up, and he's still making all the money. I can guarantee you that the Eagles will be trying to deal Carson Wentz in the offseason. They are lying if they said they weren't, which they kind of did. They said, oh, we're going to keep Carson. Yeah, that works really well, paying the guy that sits on the bench all that money. I mean, just ask Drew Bledsoe how that goes. This happens a couple other times, obviously. Remember Alex Smith at Kansas City when old Patty Mahomes showed up? Yeah, it's happened plenty of other times, and it's just not good for the team when that happens. You got to trade them. And I think they're in it, though, for the next year or two, at least through next year as a salary cap hit, a big one. So they're going to try to trade him more than anything, and they're probably going to have to eat some salary. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. When that happens, it's called a dead cap hit. They have to eat some of the prorated guaranteed money. Obviously, the Denver Broncos took care of business and took out Carolina. I like Denver. They got their linebacker Barron back. I know A.J. Bouye was out. He was suspended for performance-enhancing drugs. But to be honest with you, I thought that Denver and Vic Fangio can figure it out with some of their younger guys. I think Drew Lock was playing better. Their receivers are playing better. They did get a lot of special teams help as well, but they took care of Carolina. The plus 4.5 was way too big. When that thing moved past the 3, I was like, what the hell? I'm looking at 3.5, and it's early Sunday morning. And then, I'm like, I'm going to wait on it. I look back, it's 4.5. Boom. That's when he made the play. It's and that's why I always say it's best to bet early in the week and very late when the line moves in your direction. Like the same thing with the Eagles there. Titans took care of the Jags. Colts, Raiders went over. Was happy about that one, obviously. Packers had a little trouble with the Lions. The Lions hung around a long time in that game, but the Packers ended up winning 31-24, not covering the 7.5. But if you got it at the key number of 7, then congrats to you for the push. The Washington football team, and man, are you serious? Chase Young. That is a man. That is a beast of a man, and he does it like it's not even tough to do in the NFL. He looks like an absolute monster, kind of like he's playing with a bunch of peewee players, almost like he does it in between his nap time, just goes out there and kicks ass and then goes and take a nap, right? Just like it's second nature. Just like we were talking last year, Chase Young, I kept saying that he should be the number 1 draft pick, if not Joe Burrow, right, last year. Well, now I'm saying this man may be a future Hall of Famer.
Last week, fucked around and got a triple-double.
Steelers versus the Bills, and obviously the Bills took care of business. They are kind of getting beat a little bit. I was worried about a minus 2.5 for a while. And they ended up getting that pick 6 at the end of the half, and that just changed the momentum. Outscored the Steelers 14-0 in the third, and then just kind of coasted throughout the fourth. Looks like the under hit in that game by a little bit, 26-15, and the Steelers are just in a funk right now. They're not hot when this is the time you need to be hot coming into the playoffs, and the Steelers still have a pretty tough schedule coming up. So. Bills, I had to seriously upgrade them in my power ratings, and I really like what Josh Allen is doing. I saw a story that he sent like 1,000 letters to universities, probably most of them to the same, maybe 20 letters to like Cal, 20 letters to Oregon, 20 to where he ended up in Wyoming, and only one school responded to him, I believe, 1 or 2 schools, and it was Wyoming. And the man had to work for everything that he had. And right now he is an absolute star in the NFL. And I love Absolutely love people like that. Well, there it is, my friends. We still have a Cleveland versus the Ravens, so we'll see what happens. Already gave out some plays in the NFL to some premium subscribers for this week. Obviously, if you'd like to become a subscriber, please check us out at theoddsbreakers.com. All right, let's get into our college football Week 15 misleading final scores. And we'll start right out with Maryland. They outgained Rutgers 471 to 354, yet lost 27-24. A 2-0 turnover ratio hurt them. And this is still relevant because they're still going to have, 20 some bowl games coming up here, and they already have some set. So I'm excited to see if any of these teams land in bowl games. Penn State only outgained Michigan State 405 to 389, yet won 39-24. Even turnovers, but bad efficiency for Tucker and Sparty. Western Michigan outgained Ball State 491 to 352, yet lost 30-27. A 2-0 turnover ratio hurt them. That's Western Michigan for you. They look so good in the beginning. Northern Illinois outgained Eastern Michigan 420 to 337, yet lost 41 to 33. Even turnover ratio at 1-1 as well. That's just bad efficiency for Northern Illinois. Florida outgained LSU 609 to 418, yet lost 37 to 34. A 3-0 turnover ratio knocked them out of the playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
UCLA outgained USC 549 to 444, yet lost 43 to 38. A 3-2 turnover ratio hurt them. Thought they figured out the turnover thing, but it showed its ugly head. Oregon State outgained Stanford 458 to 408, yet lost 27 to 24. Just a 1-0 turnover ratio, but it hurt them enough. San Diego State outgained BYU 399 to 384, yet lost 28 to 14. A 2-1 turnover ratio and bad efficiency hurt the Aztecs. Moving right into college football, Week 15B motivational spots, letdown spots. Army in a letdown spot versus Air Force after beating Navy. That's very possible. Big Army-Navy game. LSU in a huge letdown spot after beating Florida. That's a big one, in my opinion, against Ole Miss. ASU at Oregon State after crushing their rival Arizona is a big one. And Florida State in a letdown spot after beating Duke is pretty bad as well. Remember this, guys. They came up huge for the money line last week, and they do every once in a while, probably more often than not on the money line, and for the spread, they come into fruition all the time. Get up spots, all teams minus LSU, Army, Florida State, and ASU. Look ahead spots, really none. I mean, it's the last game. It's championship week as well. There is no look ahead spots in college football. Now for your NFL Week 14 misleading final scores. We have Cincinnati outgaining Dallas 309 to 272, yet lost 30-7. A 3-0 turnover ratio did them in early in the game. Minnesota outgained Tampa Bay 335 to 303, yet lost 26 to 24. A 1-0 turnover ratio hurt. Bad efficiency and missing 4 field goals. 4 field goals for Minnesota. Crush them. That's why I took Tampa Bay on the teaser instead of the -6.5 juiced to -7. Went up to -7. It was at -115 where I saw it most places. Indianapolis only outgained Las Vegas 456 to 424, yet won 44 to 27. A 3-0 turnover ratio killed the Raiders. San Francisco outgained Washington 344 to 193, yet lost 23 to 15. 3-1 turnover ratio killed them. They allowed 2 defensive touchdowns thanks to
Last week, fucked around and got a triple-double.
motivational spots. letdown spots. The Bills could let down at the Broncos after beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. Very possible. The Eagles could let down at the Cardinals after beating the Saints, although the Eagles need it, right? The Chargers on a little letdown spot after beating Atlanta. They don't win too many games out there. And the Chargers are facing, I believe, the Raiders. Get up spots. Steelers will want to put one on the Bengals. Trust me there when I say that. And the Saints will want to beat the crap out of the Chiefs, even though it might not happen. They're going to want to do that after coming off a loss. I know Sean Payton is. Look ahead spots. Seahawks could be looking past the Washington football team to the Rams, and the Rams could be looking past the Jets to the Seahawks. Very possible with these two here. That's all we have for NFL motivational spots here. Time to move on to our college football free play of the week, and we're going to go with Purdue versus Indiana, and this is back on, baby. Plus 10.5 is the spread. The total's around the 53 area. Indiana's been a nice surprise this year. Lots of credit to Tom Allen, but Purdue ain't no slouch either over with Jeff Brom there. You know, Tom Allen was able to teach his kids how to play tough. He's come up with some very creative plays. He's also learned how to work the officials, as you've seen. He works them very well. And a lot of that helped his cause this year. They're just a tough team. And they learn to smash people in the mouth, I want to say. The defense has really been the biggest thing to me for this Hoosier team. Red zone defense. Backup Jake Tuttle did a great job against Wisconsin last week, finding wide receivers at opportune moments, but there's still some issues with this team. Okay? They give up 5.41 yards per play on defense, while they only get 5.17 on offense. That's a minus 0.24 yards per play. They're outgained by Wisconsin, too. I mean, that's more like a 500 team number, right? I mean, they've been getting by straight efficiency in the red zone. How long can that last? I don't know. But at least, you know, we're looking at Purdue. They are a positive 5.7 yards per play, and they only allow 5.4 on defense. So that's a net 0.3. You know, their 2-4 record really doesn't add up to those stats either. I mean, they're kind of on the opposite side, right? You have Indiana, who is negative in yards per play, but great at efficiency. And then you have Purdue, positive yards per play, bad at efficiency, right? Well, look at what happened to Wake Forest versus Louisville. Same situation. Wake Forest got their ass kicked this week. Louisville just decided not to turn the ball over for once. But anyways, that's going to happen. And this is a very huge part of regression. Regression can happen because of it, and especially when you're looking at a 10-point spread. That's huge. The biggest thing for me, too, is that whole Wisconsin win for Indiana. That's not aging too well, is it? It's really not. That's not aging too well at all. You know, so if they fail to get good turnover luck against Purdue, I think Purdue can literally win this game outright. This is still kind of a letdown spot after they celebrated Wisconsin's win. I'm taking Purdue plus 10.5. Probably like it down to 10. Don't love it at 9.5, but I'd probably think about playing at 9.5. Get it early. 2.5 star premium play and sprinkle.
And so then I got a call from him saying we don't have to worry about money no more. And I said, that's good. One less thing.
All right, my friends, let's get into a little fantasy football week 15 with our guy, D Nasty. All right, now it's time for a little fantasy football. We have our man D Nasty back. It is week 15. The playoffs are rolling. There's some injuries. There's some guys we have to pick up. Dave, how you been, man?
Good. Packers are NFC North champions. Woo woo.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they're not one and done again. They only beat one good team this year, you know, right?
The Bears? I don't think the Bears did, though.
No, the only winning team that they beat, I think, is the Saints. The Saints. Everyone else sucks. I mean, you lost against the Colts. You got your ass kicked against Tampa. That's pretty easy.
Should have beat the Colts, though.
Pretty easy schedule there. I'm just telling you. I mean, as a fan, it's almost like you're a little overrated now. But no, I got the Packers, top 3, top 4 team right now. I think there's just a lot of parity in the league. I think it's the Chiefs, and then there's that second quadrant of teams that are like the Rams, the Packers, the Saints, the Steelers, and the Bills kind of now. That's kind of like the next quadrant, right? It's just KC and them. I don't even know if the Ravens are in that quadrant anymore. I mean, they were, but they've been kind of falling. Looks like the Browns that keep answering back against them this game, so that's been pretty interesting.
Ravens can't pass the ball. All they can do is run the ball. Whoever stacks the box against them will beat them.
Yeah, Marquise Brown screwing me. I just needed 4 points from him. We can't get nothing for your league, so we'll see if I'm going to end up having to play for a consolation there. Let's get into the week then, shall we, Dave?
Yes, I'd be happy to.
All right, buddy. We got some key injuries here. I have a few of them. Starting out with Matt Stafford, he's got a rib injury. I wrote week to week, but he's kind of like between doubtful and questionable for next week. They say he's a tough kid. But if I'm the Lions, I fire my coach, I'm not making the playoffs. Why the hell would I play Matt Stafford? There's no fans. I don't think there's much of a reason to play him this week, personally. I think he's going to be out. Austin Hooper, he missed this game for the Browns, and his neck injury might keep him out the next week. So just wanted to mention him. I'm not sure if we mentioned him last week. Mike Gesicki has a nasty shoulder injury. We're still waiting to hear more back on the MRI on that. For the Dolphins, he's been a pretty solid tight end there. Deebo Samuel, hamstring injury, left the game. He could miss next week against the Cowboys. Devontae Parker, leg injury, could miss next week. I haven't heard a report on him. So Jakeem Grant hurt himself in the leg too, but he should be back next week from what I'm hearing. Mike Williams for the Chargers has a back injury, and Alex Smith strained his calf, is day-to-day, and good old Dwayne Haskins came in to finish off the 49ers, Dave. Who am I missing?
You got most of them, actually. I think the only other one I know of is the Bengals quarterback, Brandon Allen, who's been starting with Burrow out, suffered a bone bruise in his knee. So he's questionable for this week. And then nothing really on the COVID front right now either. Christian McCaffrey missed this last week with a shoulder injury, so he's going to be questionable for this week as well. So definitely keep an eye on that. I feel sorry for Christian McCaffrey owners like myself, who's very mad that I wasn't able to play him this week. But thank God I put in Miles Sanders, and he blew up for me this week. So that ended up working out very nicely for me. So that was only silver lining to that.
What's funny, Dave, is we had Miles Sanders on our bus list last week, I believe.
I know.
And he went off. But thank goodness my nasty sleeper of the week got into the 20s, Mr. T.Y. Hilton. So hopefully some listeners benefited and won their playoff game for that.
That was a very nice call.
All right, my man. Anything else?
No, that's all I had. That's all I had on the injury front.
Let's go to the waiver wire, Dave. Who's going to win it? Who we got to pick up to win our league?
Well, the number one guy this week is going to be Jalen Hurts. We talked about him briefly last week, but he actually looked outstanding against the top defense in the league, in the Saints. Him and Miles Sanders had himself a day, and he got his first win against the top defense. So definitely a guy you can pick up, and he's going to start again this week. They just announced it tonight. So he could actually be a league winner for you with his rushing ability, especially if you get 6 points for rushing TD and only 4 for a passing. With the rushing yards, too, he had over 100 yards this past week on the ground. So more like a Lamar Jackson type runner. And they were already saying, too, that he more confident than Carson Wentz, which is not good for Carson Wentz. So they like his confidence, and he said he's more of a leader as well. So all good things that were coming out of the locker room for Jalen Hurts. Only owned in 17% of leagues still. Another one to consider is Gardner Minshew. He came in late in the game this last week to play. He looked pretty good. He was announced as a starter for this week as well. If you remember at the beginning of the year, he started out pretty hot at the first 2 to 3 games. So definitely another guy you could plug in this week if you need a quarterback this week. For running back wise, Myles Gaskin was out. There is a chance he might not play this week as well, so that's the one we forgot to mention on the injury report. So definitely keep an eye on that. But you could pick up his backup DeAndre Washington. He actually had 13 of the 17 running back carries for them, and he looked pretty good this past week. Also, Lynn Bowden Jr. for the Miami Dolphins. He looked very good this week as well. They split him out as a wide receiver most of the time, but he did have 9 targets, and he came away with 7 receptions for 82 yards. And he does have running back eligibility, so definitely take a look at him if you need a receiver. Kiki Kute, my D-Nasty Sleeper of the Week 2 weeks ago, who had a good game. He's only owned in 45% of leagues right now. He did have a touchdown again this past week. So if he is still out there, Brandon Cooks was out this past week. So definitely keep an eye on Brandon Cooks for this week as well. Another one on the injury report. Keep an eye on. But if he is out, definitely start Kiki this week. It's another one that you want to definitely pick up. We might have forgotten about Rashard Penny. He is actually coming back probably this week, but I don't know if you'd want to start him. But I was definitely just keep an eye on Chris Carson. If Carson starting, you probably do not want to start him. But Kalen Balaj, too, if he's still out there, he's only owned in 19% of leagues right now. He's still getting carries behind Eckler. And then the last one I have is George Kittle might be coming back. So if anyone dropped him, he could be a league winner for you, definitely. He's a top tight end. So if he does for some reason come back this year still and for the playoffs, I would definitely roster him if you need a tight end for the playoffs. And then Jordan Atkins, who actually has been playing pretty well, only owned in 5% of the leagues right now. Deshaun Watson doesn't really have many receivers to throw to right now, so he's a good tight end to pick up if you need somebody. And the last but not least, on defense, the Cleveland Browns. Guess who they're playing? The New York Jets. That's all I have to say for picking up the Cleveland Browns. Is you definitely want to pick them up when they're playing the Jets.
The Browns are playing the Jets next week?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. I thought the Rams were playing it's the Giants. The Browns are playing the Giants Sunday on 12/20. They play the Jets the week after, the 12/27.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah. That's what I meant, yes.
Yeah, but the Giants are still, pretty bad.
Play the Giants, but then they'll be playing the Jets in the Super Bowl for you. So definitely someone you want to pick up for if you're looking forward.
Yeah, or to get third place. You might be playing for a consolation. Yeah. So important stuff. Always got to look ahead. Picking up defenses, definitely look ahead. No, I like what you have there. I have a few myself. Dwayne Washington, obviously. Jalen Hurts, I like that for sure. I mean, he's kind of a must-own. He's such a wild card, but he's going to get a lot of rushing yards, Philly's excited now. Yeah, he's changing the momentum of that team. They were going down. Now they're kind of coming back up. So I'm excited to see what they do against the Cardinals this week. Cardinals' weak defense, right? Jakeem Grant, if Devontae Parker can't go, but like you said, what's-his-face is also doing good over there. Mac Hollins is as well. Mac Hollins filled in well for when Parker was hurt. I just don't know how hurt Parker is, Dave. I'm waiting for a better report on that, right?
Yeah. Actually, Lamar Jackson just left the game tonight with cramps in his leg, and he has has a leg injury. So just breaking news here on our podcast.
Oh, Lamar. Yeah, he's been running a lot today, so we'll see.
I think that's probably why he got hurt.
Yeah, it looks like McSorley's in right now. Back to the business, Adam Shaheen is a good tight end pickup streamer for the Gesicki injury. Gesicki's doing great out there, and Shaheen's going to get a lot more play. I like him as a streamer this week for sure, and they get to play the Patriots. They're going to be thinking about that. And you think the tight end might get a little bit more if Devontae Parker's out. So that's interesting. I put David Njoku as well for the Hooper injury, but he's not getting a ton of play so far this game. Drew Lock, he's only owned in 11% of leagues. And if you lost a quarterback like a Wentz or something, or maybe you don't want to start Dwayne Haskins because you had Alex Smith, Drew Lock's not a bad streamer. And Mitch Trubisky, Dave, I'm telling you, man, only 11% of leagues is owned, and he's got the Vikings up next and the Jags for the Super Bowl. Imagine playing Trubisky against the Jags, and he does something for you. You'll change your tune on Trubisky, that's for sure. I don't like A.J. Green's matchup, but, dude, 7 targets and a touchdown. That's interesting. He doesn't have a good matchup this week against the Steelers, but he could be a good Super Bowl as well. Who are your players trending up?
All right. Well, I do like the Raiders this week. The Chargers and the Raiders both do not have good defenses. So I like Justin Herbert against the poor Raiders defense. The Raiders defense just fired their defensive coordinator after a poor showing last week. So I don't look forward to get any better with a different defensive coordinator. So definitely starting Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler against the poor Raiders defense. Most of you are probably starting Eckler already, but definitely plug him in this week against the Raiders. I like Derek Carr this week and Josh Jacobs. Your two guys are starting already probably as well. But I definitely like them this week against the poor Chargers defense, neither one of them. So it should be a high-scoring game for fantasy purposes. I do like the Bills against the poor Broncos defense. They do have a decent defense, but they're still giving up a lot of points this year, so I do like that matchup. I like the Packers this week. You can even maybe like Jamal Williams even against the poor Panthers defense. And Lazard too, who I had as a D-Nasty sleeper last week. He didn't get as many catches as I thought he would, but he did look good. I like him this week against the Panthers too as well. 49ers, Brandon Ayuk, who's been blowing up the last couple weeks. Definitely a guy you want to plug in against the poor Cowboys defense. Nick Mullins should have a good day against them as well. They can't stop anyone who's passing against them. Alex Smith, if he does play, or Dwayne Haskins possibly. That's another guy you might want to pick up this week if Alex Smith is not playing. The Redskins are fighting for first place right now, so Dwayne Haskins would be a nice pickup if he's out there. I like him to have a good day against the Seattle defense, who can't do nothing against the pass as well. They do have a good run defense, though, so we'll talk about that here shortly. Bears, I do like Trubisky, who we were just talking about. I do like him against the poor Vikings defense. I do like Trubisky has looked good the past 2 weeks. I do have to agree with you on that one. So I do like him this week against the Vikings. Ravens, if Lamar is playing this week, I like him against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I like all the running backs against them as well. So if Edwards or Dobbins, I like both of them as starts again this week against the Jaguars. Buccaneers, I like them. I like Brady, who most of you guys are starting already, but I like all the receivers and running backs against the Falcons as well. So Ronald Jones, you're probably starting him already, but I do like him against the Falcons. I do like Tannehill against the poor Lions defense. Phillip Rivers, who you might not be starting, I like him. He's trending up right now. Jonathan Taylor, who blew up this past week, finally. I needed him this week as well, and he did blow up and come through for me. So him and Taylor I both really like this week. Rams, Jared Goff, who you might not be starting.
There it is, buddy. Marquise Brown, touchdown. Just advanced in your league. I can't believe it, dude. Sorry,
awesome.
Sorry, I had to do that. I'm sorry. I had to. It was like a 40-yard touchdown right there. 45. Oh, woo!
That.
This is like it feels like we're just like doing this live. Although everyone's going to get this tomorrow and be like, "Shut the hell up!" Right? Okay. Well, moving on. Yeah, he was so wide open. Even Lamar Jackson could hit him. So there you go.
And then I do like Cam Akers, again, another rookie running back who's been coming on the last couple weeks. Definitely get him into your lineup this week against the Jets. And I do like Baker Mayfield and Rashard Higgins this week, who had a touchdown again tonight. Pick him up if he's still on waivers, too. We did talk about him last week against the Giants. And then I do like all the Steelers, but you're starting most of them already against the Bengals. So even maybe the backups, like Claypool, who hasn't looked good the last couple weeks, you're definitely plugging him back in against the Bengals.
I agree, man, for sure. Got a lot of those, too. Raheem Mostert I have, though, Dave. You gave me a lot of crap about him last week and the weeks before, but he's facing a very weak Cowboys run D. They are the worst run D in the league right now, and I just see a bounce-back spot for this kid. This is it for him, you know. This is why I drafted him. He's going to win it for me in these two leagues, or I am going to suffer. So he better do something. Nyheim Hines, running back against Houston's D, for sure, like him. J.K. Dobbins against the horrible Houston Texans D. Now, I think Gus Edwards I even like more than J.K. Dobbins, Dave. He's been blowing up, and they've been using him a ton, and he's been scoring, you know. So I think it's kind of weird. Gus Edwards was always like that second thought. He's playing some of his best football right now. I totally have Benny Snell for sure. Like you said, Steelers players. I'd play a lot of Steelers players against the Bengals D. They're going to want a kind of a slump buster, right, coming into the Bengals.
Exactly.
Devin Singletary, Denver's got the 5th worst run D, so I like him this week. Logan Thomas, I like against Seattle's pass D, so I do agree with you. If Dwayne Haskins plays, he's going to probably want a bigger target and try to throw it to his tight end there. Logan Thomas is a good flyer this week here. The whole Rams team against the lowly Jets, and that includes Jared Goff. I've actually seen Jared Goff in some leagues. Some people dropped him. This could be one where he scores 4 to 5 touchdowns, right? So it's hard to start Goff because he's screwed me over in many, many playoff spots before. But this one, he's got a juicy matchup if you don't have anybody better. Rob Gronkowski, Gronk, he's late in the year type of guy, man. It's Gronk time coming into week 15, and he plays the Falcons. I like Gronk this week. Jonnu Smith versus Detroit's pass D is a good flyer to play. You're already starting A.J. Brown. Start Jonnu Smith. Mark Andrews versus Jacksonville's D. He's already caught a few passes today. And Evan Ingram, a guy that hasn't really showed up at all this whole week, is playing Cleveland's pass D. So I think Evan Ingram is going to have a good week. Dave, any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I like all of those, actually.
All right, thanks, man. Let's go into bus. Todd Gurley, running back versus Tampa Bay's run D, is a bust coming up this week. The whole Jets team is a bust as usual, but now they're playing the Rams defense. Super bust. J.D. McKissick, running back versus Seattle's D. I don't like him running. I think Gibson is probably still out. David Johnson or Duke Johnson versus Indianapolis's D. Don't like either of them running backs. The Texans are pretty shot right now. They lost Will Fuller. Brandon Cooks was benched this week because he's been banged up. So I don't know what's going to happen with this team. Don't like their, yeah, he'll be questionable the whole freaking week. He's going to annoy the hell out of you. Giovanni Bernard, running back versus the Steelers D. He's a massive bust to me this week. I know Steelers did lose some of their linebackers, but they still have Hayworth and some T.J. Watt. They still have some big guys back there that should stop the Bengals. They'll be throwing the ball all day, trying to catch up. Tyler Boyd, I also don't like him against Steelers either. I think the Steelers are going to shut him down. Russell Wilson, buddy. This is a tough one for me, and I put him in my bust list probably the first time all year. Washington's D has been scary good lately, man. Chase Young is an absolute man-child. He's a beast. You know, he's unstoppable, and I'm worried he's going to get to Russell Wilson, get in his head a little bit. And the Seattle Seahawks have the Rams on deck. So I'm going to have to choose between Russell Wilson and Carr. And Carr's got a lot easier matchup against the Chargers. So it's going to be a head-scratcher. I'll tell you this. I'm going to have to think about this one this week a little bit more and do some more analysis. I know Carr had a great game against the Chargers last week, but Russell Wilson's just in a tough spot. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper are bus versus San Francisco's D. Dave, who are your bus?
All right, yeah, I do like a lot of those that you had. I'm going to say Drew Lock against the tough Buffalo's D. I'm going to downgrade him. He's going to be a bust this week, along with Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay. I don't like the matchup against the tough Bills defense this week. I do agree with you on Seattle playing Washington this week. Kareem Curl, actually, their young rookie safety, has been looking very good as well. And along with Chase Young, I don't like the Seattle team against the strong Washington defense. Vikings, Dalvin Cook, I don't like him against the Bears defense this week. I think he'll be sort of a bust this week against the Chicago Bears D. Also, the Jaguars, any of the running backs, I don't like James Robinson, even though you're probably starting him against a tough Ravens defense. I look for them to lock down on the Jaguars this week. And Gardner Minshew as well, so you might not want to play him this week if you do pick him up. Falcons, I agree with you on that, Gurley. And Matt Ryan hasn't looked very good either the last couple weeks, so definitely he could be a bust as well this week against a tough Tampa defense. Jalen Hurts, Cardinals have a decent defense, but I think he could still have a good game against them. But He could be potential bust as well, but we see about that making a second start only. Definitely all the Jets, Darnold, the running back, whoever starts for the Jets at running back against the Rams. I don't like that matchup. The Chiefs, I'd say you definitely can't downgrade or say Mahomes is going to be a bust, but definitely the running backs, though, against that tough run D for the Saints. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he could be a bust this week against the Saints. Giants, I don't like any of their running backs or Daniel Jones against good Cleveland defense. And then the Bengals team altogether, I'm just Xing that whole team out against the Steelers. I don't think their quarterback or running backs or receivers are going to do anything against the Steelers D as well.
Now, a good call there. And the Browns running back just scored a touchdown, Dave.
Who? Chubb?
Kareem Hunt, buddy. I know you're playing against Chubb, so had to scare you for a second there. Sorry. But dude, what a game! It's 42-41 now, and
crazy.
Yeah, I wonder if the Browns are going to try to go for 2 here. No, loving what you're throwing down. Nasty sleeper time, Dave, and I'm gonna let you go first with your D nasty sleeper of the week.
I'm going with Brandon Ayuk, who's been tearing it up these last couple weeks. I'm going with him as my D nasty sleeper of the week. I look for him to continue with Deebo Samuel out. I look for in the poor Cowboys defense. I look for Brandon Ayuk to have a league-winning week this week to guide you to the Super Bowl.
Brandon Ayuk, great play and good matchup there for sure. And I'm staying with the same team, Dave, and I think you know who I'm going for.
You boy.
He killed me on your bet, but I'm betting on him again this week. And Raheem Mostert is going to have a field day against the Cowboys. Horrible D. I think it's time for him to explode like he did in the playoffs against your Packers last year. I love Raheem Mostert, and I think he's going to either win it or I'm definitely going to be in tears next week during our fantasy show, my friend. Well, anything else to add for Fantasy Football Week 15?
No, good luck in the playoffs, everyone, this week. Make sure to check your lineups and get all those injured guys out. Make sure you make the pickups like our podcast said tonight, and good luck in the playoffs.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Make sure you tune in to Wednesdays because we're going to have a big one for you. Have a great rest of your week. Go win your fantasy football playoffs and go get some winners.